77 WABC.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
No, I get by with a little help from my friends.
Oh, great song, Suicide Blind. I watched the Netflix special on this guy, Michael Hutchins, in excess. It was great.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, he was really depressed. I mean, he was...
And he had like 3 amazing girlfriends in a row.
3 gorgeous girls, yeah. Well, one of them just destroyed him, but he... it was a sad story. It was like sad.
He had a bicycle accident. Did you see that part of it? Where a bike rider hit him.
Yeah.
And he lost some hearing in one of his ears.
And that was a problem for him. Yeah. But the band was great, and he was great.
Amazing.
And you would have thought, in excess, that he would have had a great life, but he really didn't.
And they owned the world for a while.
The world. Yeah. How old is he when he killed himself?
I would guess 40s, but
I think the 40s. No, he was in his 40s, I think. But when he died, they said he killed himself. He hung himself trying to cut off his air supply before orgasm. And they said it was a sexual thing, but they didn't put it that way in the Netflix documentary. They're like he killed himself. He, the father and the.
Maybe they didn't want to include that.
Maybe it was embarrassing. I don't know. But
it was during. Also, I think he was having this affair kind of with Bob Geldof's ex-wife, Paula Yates.
I think they showed that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there was this big thing going on, triangle. He was with another girl, but then he was with Paula Yates too, and they had a baby.
But there was a one he still. Yeah, that was the baby. That destroyed him. Paula destroyed him. She's the one. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Crazy. And of course, we always play Australian bands when the world's best columnist, her and Goodwin, Miranda Devine from the New York Post comes on because she's Australian. And she's here right now. The great Miranda Devine. Did you see that Netflix special, Miranda, on In Excess?
Good morning, Sid. No, I didn't, but I know the story very, very well. And look, I think that the Netflix special may have gilded the lily on his death because the police, I think, were inconclusive about whether it was a deliberate suicide or an accidental death, as you said, doing some sort of weird sexual practice. So, he had a child, a baby, with Paula Yates, Bob Geldof's ex, and I think there was a story that it was the Ritz-Carlton in Double Bay in Sydney, and this was in late 90s, 1997, and one of the other guests in a room nearby said they heard shouting beforehand, a male voice, and he was alone in the hotel room. And look, Paula Yates doesn't seem to think that he had any sort of suicidal intentions, and he certainly didn't seem that sort of guy.
Yeah. No, it's, you're right. You're all over it. Miranda Devine, she can talk about Hunter Biden. I mean, wow. Go watch it, though. You'll enjoy it because clearly you're up on the whole thing. You're an Australian, you know all about that stuff anyway, but I think you'll enjoy it, even if they did, as you said, kind of gilded the lily just a little bit. It's funny. I was watching Fox News last night, and I couldn't watch it for long. I'd watch it for like spurts because I'd get nauseous. 10 minutes, I'd see these. It's a very ugly crowd. We're much better looking people, the Republicans, I can tell you that. So the people were ugly, and it was dead in there. Didn't have the same energy that we had in Milwaukee. So I'd watch it for 10 minutes. I'd go watch the Mets. Come back for 10 minutes. So I'm watching, Laura Ingraham and I'm watching Jesse Waters. And at least early on, before they started speaking up on stage, people like AOC and Hillary, they spent a lot of time, Miranda, talking about what your latest column talks about, which is what a horrible place Chicago's become, one of our great cities, and how apropos that the Democrats who helped destroy that city, like our city here in New York, how apropos it is that that's the city they're using to house these idiots.
It's so true because there's been almost 100 years of Democrat rule in Chicago. Beautiful city. I went to university there. But it's just gone to rack and ruin because, especially in recent years, they've had a couple of really bad mayors. The current one, Brandon Johnson, is pretty much a Marxist. He was the head of the teachers' union there, which is the most militant union in the country. And they're wanting a 50% pay rise for their students, even though the majority of them, 75% of them, can't read and write at the proper grade level. So it's a tragedy. And as for, there's something like one person shot every 2 hours in Chicago. One dies every 17 hours. Mostly the victims are black in the south side of Chicago. But, you know, there are rampages through the Magnificent Mile. It's just tragic to see what's happened, but it is a taste of what happens to Democrat cities and what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want to inflict on the whole of America, because they have the same crazy radical left policies, particularly being very weak on crime and, of course, the illegal migrant crisis, which the borders are is responsible for.
The borders are. We're going to take a quick break, Miranda. I got to get these spots in, but I want you to stick with me for a couple of minutes, because the borders are says, well, I was never the borders are. You know, all this talk about the debate between her and Trump, and I say, how could she possibly compete? And the answer is, well, she'll just lie. And they're off to a good start lying already in Chicago. So we'll take a short break. When we come back, the absolutely terrific, the great columnist from the New York Post, my dear friend Miranda Devine, is coming back right after these words.
WABC. This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
No, I get by with a little help from my friends.
I can't get to sleep. I think about the implications of diving in too deep, and possibly the complications, especially at night. I worry over situations. I know we'll be alright. Perhaps it's just imagination. Day after day it reappears. Night after night my heartbeat shows the fear. Ghosts appear and fade away.
For Australia right here with Men at Work. Overkill 9:03 on your Tuesday morning. Back with the great New York Post columnist Miranda Devine. See, we always make you feel right at home, Miranda, right?
You really do. It's so nice to hear. Thank you so much. I love it.
You're welcome. See, Brett Baer can never do that, by the way. So we're talking about, you mentioned the Harris Walz ticket, and it's scary. I mean, it really is scary. You wouldn't know it if you watch this DNC. They're yelling and screaming and smiling. They've turned this lady into Martin Luther King with a female anatomy. But it is, in my lifetime, the scariest ticket I've ever seen. It is so anti-America that it has to have your head scratched, no?
That was exactly what I was going to say. Un-American. It's just such a foreign, this communist platform that they have, such as it is, and Tim Walz's terrible background and the weird pronouncements that Kamala Harris has made in her own very sad presidential bid in 2019. She didn't even make it to Iowa. She was so dreadful. Look, I mean, you just saw last night. I don't see how it can work. It is such a schizophrenic sort of campaign because on the one hand you have Harris coming out and being all unity and light and we all love each other and we have more in common than we have, that split us apart, etc. And then every single speaker was just doom and gloom and hatred for MAGA and Donald Trump. Donald Trump had just survived an assassin's bullet just a few weeks ago, and there they are on stage saying that he's a clear and present danger and he's a convicted felon and what a terrible person he is. They really are so frightened of him, and all they have is demonizing Donald Trump and demonizing his followers.
No, it's true. Us too, right?
Half of the country.
Yeah, me too. No, they say horrible things about me, but I got to tell you, Miranda, I look at the polls and it's close, right? Either person can win, but she's winning, and I'm hoping that the debate he just puts her away. That's the end of that, but. The one constant criticism, which I can't stand, I disagree with it. I'm on the record saying I disagree with it. The constant criticism is he needs to be nicer. He needs to be more focused. Don't talk about her color. Don't call her stupid. And I got to tell you, when I'm watching the DNC and guest after guest, speaker after speaker spends their whole time on stage killing him, calling him a rapist, a convicted felon, I got to tell you, how do you expect the guy to react? I think that's way overstated, but that seems to be what Republicans feel, that he's going to cost himself the own race.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a fine line, isn't it? He has to be upbeat and hopeful and optimistic, and just remind people of the good times under the last Trump presidency. But he also has to remind them, not that really any of us need reminding, of how terrible Biden and Harris have been for everybody in this country. And I think he's very good at doing that. I mean, he points to the border in particular, and to the economy, and it doesn't take a lot. And look, J.D. Vance has turned out to be a really good attack dog. He's pretty focused.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you did it that way. You said he's turned out to be, because I'm going to be honest. I said this on the day one. I didn't like it. I wanted Rubio. I wanted Stefanik. I'm like, this guy's going to kill us in New York, his abortion stance. But I'm glad you put it out that way, because I love him now. He is a million times better than the Democrat Joyce Walls, and watching him again on Waters last night, he is turned out to be terrific for Trump.
He's absolutely brilliant. Every single word that comes out of his mouth is finely honed and targeted, and he's just so smart. And I think he's going to be a great asset ultimately in this campaign to Donald Trump. And so I think that, Donald Trump can just leave a lot of the attacks to J.D. Vance as they get more comfortable with their relationship, and just be, Donald Trump, what a funny, generous, warm-spirited person he is. The people who are close to him, his family, they all adore him. You can tell that in the fact that he's got these 5 very well-adjusted adult children, these grandkids, including that fabulous granddaughter who's such an amazing golfer who spoke at the RNC convention. Yep. And that's, I think, the side of Donald Trump that a lot of people don't see. His supporters know it, but I think independents may just see the negative sort of caricature of Donald Trump as an ogre that they see in the media.
Well, that's how the media portrays him, but you couldn't be any more right, and I do know him. And I am with his family a bit, and I'm very close with Eric and Lara, and they're wonderful people. They are wonderful people. He's a super guy. He's got a great sense of humor. Like you said, he's a very nice guy, but he's a fighter. He's a Queens guy. That is not going away. If people think all of a sudden he's going to tweak it, he's going to hone it, he's going to become closer to Winston Churchill than Rocky Balboa, it's just not Trump. That's not why he won the last 2 primaries. So my suggestion is let Trump be Trump, and he's much better than the other choice.
Well, maybe that's why Corey Lewandowski is there, because that's his favourite line, let Trump be Trump. And as you say, it's been successful for him. And, as long as he's not negative in his head, as long as he's feeling positive, there's nothing better than Trump in a good mood. He probably won't be in a great mood watching the RNC convention this week, because there's such lies. I mean, they did, I was on Fox Nation last night doing it live and afterwards, and we sort of were joking about having a drinking game for all the lies that Joe Biden told. He did the suckers and losers hoax. He did the very fine people hoax. Yep. He just could not let up on Donald Trump. And the lies have been fact-checked and proven as lies over and over, even by Snopes and the Washington Post and all those other liars. Yep. And yet they still use them. So it would make you furious to be lied about like that.
Even Jake Tapper said Charlottesville. He said that. He said there are fine people on both sides except the Nazis. But the media very conveniently leaves out the part where he said, except the Nazis. I love you. You were great again. Excellent, excellent. I wish you would come back more often. I watch you at every opportunity on television. You're tremendous. Thank you so much, Miranda. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sid.
Great to have you on. That's the brilliant Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist. I love that lady. I really do.